The old man on the street corner hadn't had a drink in 2 days. His tongue felt like cracked leather, and his throat burned with the dryness of the desert. The New York City heat shimmered off the pavement, distorting the shapes of suited men and women who hurried past, their cold bottled water gripped carelessly in manicured hands.
No one met his eye. No one ever did. He sat with his back against a brick wall, the heat from it sinking into his bones. A sign rested on his lap. "Thirsty, please help." But the only ones who ever paid attention were the ones who made a show of ignoring him. He watched them sip from their lattes, their imported sparkling waters, their ice-cold sodas sweating in the heat. The kind of thirst they knew was a fleeting thing, easily fixed. His thirst was different. It was survival across
Town, in a penthouse above the city, Robert Calloway III poured himself another bourbon. The ice clinked against the glass like wind chimes in a storm. He swirled it absently, staring out at the city he owned. He was thirsty too, not for water, not even for the drink in his hand, but for something more. More money, more power, more. He had everything a man could want, an empire built from steel and sweat, a name carved into the skyline. But the thirst never left. It grew stronger like a fever. No matter how many zeros were added to his accounts, no matter how many women warmed his bed, he always felt it gnawing at him. A different kind of dryness, a hunger that could never be sated. He took a slow sip of bourbon, but it did nothing. Nothing ever did. Down on the street, the old man's fingers twitched as he watched a half-empty bottle of water roll off a bench and onto the sidewalk. He reached out weakly, but a sneakered foot kicked it aside before he could grasp it. He let out a dry, hollow laugh. Some people were just born thirsty, he thought, and some would never know what thirst really was. Robert finished his drink and reached for the bottle. He had all the water in the world, but still his throat burned. That night, the old man dreamed of rain. Cool, cleansing sheets of it pouring down over his skin, washing away the dirt, filling his mouth with sweet relief. But when he woke, all he felt was the same heat pressing down on him, heavier than before. His body was giving up, and he knew it. A different kind of thirst had taken hold now, one not even water could cure. In his penthouse, Robert stared at his phone, scanning numbers, transactions, market shifts. None of it was enough. He opened an app and bought another company, a casual, effortless movement of his thumb that would put 1,000 more people under his rule. He felt the briefest flicker of satisfaction, but it vanished just as quickly. He poured another drink. Morning came and the city woke without noticing that 2 men had disappeared in the night. One was found curled against a brick wall, his sign still resting in his lap. His thirst finally ended. The other sat in his glass tower, staring out over his empire, surrounded by wealth, yet hollowed out by a thirst that would never, ever be quenched.